Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is the 6th video in a new series on how to design a PRS electric guitar in Fusion 360. In this video I will do the body cuts, and if you want to see more videos like this, please press subscribe. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in the Fusion files, check out my Patreon site, which is listed below. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so this is where the Fusion file sits right now. We've got a body that's created and a neck. The body has a contoured top, but does not have the famous PRS neck access cut here, and also a belly cut on the other side. So I'm going to start with this neck access. And to do so, I'm going to activate the body component, because we're going to be working inside there. And I'm going to turn this canvas on, and I'll also clean things up here. I'm going to hide the neck, and we're going to hide, well, we can leave the construction folder going right there. Okay, so this is the body cut. You can see it in the captured picture. And one thing I realized when I was trying to figure this out, I took a beer can, and it actually fit pretty nicely in this cut, and it was at about a 45-degree angle. So I got a rough radius from that, and I got a rough angle from that, and I got something that looked pretty good that I was happy with. But you know, I'll show you how to do it, and you can play around with it to your heart's content. So what I did to start with is actually create a sketch on this top surface. So I'm going to pre-select that top surface. Once again, we're in the body component, and then I'm going to create a sketch, and we'll just spin it around here. Okay, so if I turn on our guides, you can see there's a line here and a line here that was purposely added for this in advance. It basically shows where that cut starts and stops. So I'm going to project those two lines in. So I hit P for project, select the two lines, and then press enter. So those are now in the sketch that we're working in. And I'm going to basically just draw a line kind of where I want the midpoint of this arched cut to be. So what I found worked best was to start pretty close to here. So I'm intersecting this guideline, and I'm going to intersect this guideline. In this case, I'm not going to go all the way out to the end. And this is kind of defining a semicircle here, not quite, but almost. So I made my line. I'm going to click on it and press X to make it a construction line. And now we're going to use that line to make a plane at an angle. So I'm going to finish this sketch, and let's go ahead and name that. And we'll call that neck access. And I'm going to select this line. I'm going to go to my plane at angle right here. And so here's a plane that's centered around this line, and now we can set the angle. So I'm going to type in 45. And you can see that basically I want to project something on this plane and then use it to cut through to get our cutaway. So we can now sketch on this plane. So I'm going to pre-select the plane, create a sketch. Oops, I created a component there. Pre-select the plane, create a sketch. Okay, so now I'm going to get an arc, 3-point arc, and I want to intersect with those points that I made between the two guidelines and the line that I just drew. So I'm going to hit escape to get out of my 3-point arc, and let me hit P for project and scroll over here so we can see what we're doing. And this line and this line, what I really want is this point right here and this point right here. So basically that line that we just drew to get the plane at angle, where that intersects these two guidelines, those are the two things I want to project in. So projection is now in, and basically what we want to do, we're on this angled plane. We now want to get a 3-point arc And now we can click here and here, and then drag a radius back. I'm going to temporarily hide this canvas so you can see this a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to put a dimension on here. And I found out, just kind of experimenting with this, 1.6 was pretty good for me. Okay. So now we've got this in a sketch, and we can basically use that as a cutting surface. So let me finish the sketch first. So this is our neck. Let's call this neck access cutter. And the other one is going to be, let's rename that other sketch that I did that simply has that line in there. Neck access CL center line. Okay. So this center line right here we have, and we also have this. We don't really need the center line anymore, so I'll hide that. And we now want to use this as a cutting surface. So if I go to split body, and I have two bodies to pick, so I'm going to pick this body and this body. And I guess I had pre-selected, so let me start from scratch here. And let me turn sketches. Well, we don't want to turn all the sketches off, but I'm going to turn the guides off. We still want this sketch on because we have to select that arc right there. Okay, so select bodies to split. We want the top cap and we want the body base. And then splitting tool, we've got something inside here. Let's see if we can select that. Okay, so that is selected. And in this case, I do want extend splitting tool. Well, let's see. We may or may not need that. Let's do it without first. Okay. So that was a problem in that it didn't go all the way to the edge of the body. So I'm going to do the same thing we just did. Do another split body. The one we just did failed. So I'm going to pick our two bodies here. We'll also turn off our guides. And this time we're going to extend splitting tool. So I've got to select that arc again. So there's the arc. Extend splitting tool is on. So now this is going to extend and cut all the way through these bodies. And that should work. And it did. So now we have some extra bodies to get rid of. And the way I do this is I just try to hide something. You can see that that body went away. This body went away. So we want these two bodies and we want to remove the two that are hidden. So I'm going to click and shift click and right click and do a remove. Okay. And then if you really cared about it, we can come in here and rename these guys to get rid of the automatic one that was appended to their names. Okay. So that, let's take a look at that. Let's go ahead and put the neck on. Turn that on, and we'll go up to the top level component so we can see everything clearly. And take a look, and we've got a nice neck access cut. It doesn't quite go to the neck, which is the case in my PRS, and it's very similar to that. So all you would have to do if you want to play with this is go into the sketches. If we go back to the body, let me hide the neck, and you know, you can basically do an edit feature here to change the angle of the plane. So that would change the angle of what we cut if you want to make it a little steeper. You can go into this sketch and you can change the radius. Let me just do that here to show you what we get for a difference. Okay. And if I do an undo, so it's slightly different, it's not much, but if I go back to 160, you can see that that's a little bit different, not much. Okay. So that is the first cut that we're going to do. So next I'm going to create the belly cut on the back side of the guitar. So to do that, I'm going to import a canvas so that I can trace a spline where this belly cut is on the back. So first off, I'm going to make my canvases visible. And I've got my body as the selected component here, or active component. I'm going to do an insert canvas, and I will go to this photo called Body Back that I had previously uploaded, and I want to put that canvas on top of this surface. So first off, I'm going to rotate it, and then I've got to scale it appropriately. So to do that, we want to take a top-down view here. So I don't have anything that I'm going to measure here. Generally, that's how I would scale one of these imported canvases, but I think in this case, all we want to do is kind of trace this belly cut contour. So I'm just going to do it by hand here. See if I can get something that is close. So I stopped the recording there just because that was going to take a little bit of fussing, but I've got something that looks like it is positioned and scaled properly over the existing drawing. So let's go ahead and take a more normal view of this guitar. So basically I want to create a spline like this in this top-down view. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a sketch, and I'm going to create that on this top plane, the back. And then I'll go get my spline tool. And basically I want to go from the outline of the guitar up here and then back to the outline of the guitar. But I don't have anything that I'm snapping to. So I'm going to hit Escape and hit P for project, and then click on the outside contour of the guitar and accept that. So now when I go back into my spline tool, I should be able to get an intersection here, which I'm getting. And then I'm going to go up to where this curve transitions, click there, and then come back and get an intersection here, and then click on the check mark. So a little hard to see this blue line. Let me see if I can select it here so you can see it's pretty good until we get down here, and then it's a little bit off. So I'm going to take this handle. I'm going to try to take this handle. So I think there's some constraints on here. Let me click on this point and delete my coincident constraint and see if we can now edit the handle. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure why I'm not moving the point. I'm not sure why that prohibits me from using the spline handle, but it seems to. Okay, so now our spline is there. It's a little bit off this line. So again, we'll click and see if we can modify this handle. No, we can't. So I'll click on this point and delete this coincident constraint. Click on the line again on the spline to get the control handle. And now I've got it pretty much in the right position. So I like that. So I'm going to finish the sketch. And let's go in and name that sketch. So this is the belly cut sketch. Okay. So now we want a similar spline when we look at the side to see how far down this comes. So we really can't get that information from this canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. And we're going to bring in another canvas. And basically we want to kind of put it probably on the center line axis. So let's see how that works. So we will insert. I tell you, before we insert, let's go ahead and turn our origin on. So now we have a plane right here to select when we put that canvas. We need to put it somewhere. So I'm going to get the, what did I call it here? Belly side cut. That's probably what I called it. So insert. I'm going to click on this plane. And I'm not seeing it. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, am I not getting the right image? Let's see. Belly cut side, insert. There it is. Okay, not sure why that didn't work the first time, but it's there. So we can scale it by using this handle. A little tough to see, but it is getting a little bit bigger. So we're going to look straight at this side and see if we can align this. So again, I'm going to stop the recording here and get it in the right spot so you don't have to watch me fussing. Okay, I've got my image positioned now, and it's pretty difficult to see, but if I toggle the body on and off, you can see that the photo kind of aligns to the body now and is the right size. Okay, so that's going to allow us to proceed here with doing a spline on this side. One thing I forgot, I'm going to go back to this sketch and do a line connecting the two endpoints of the spline. So I'm just going to click on the line, right click, and edit sketch. That's an easy way to get into a sketch. So I'm going to go to my line tool, and I'm going to draw a line making sure that it intersects at these two spline ends. And this one, I'm going to hit escape, click on it, and press X to make that construction geometry. Okay, so I'll finish the sketch. So here's our inserted canvas that we're going to be looking at from the side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a plane right here at a 90 degree to this line that we just drew, and that's where we're going to sketch this side profile of the belly cut on. So I'm going to pre-select this line, go up to construct, plane at angle. I'm getting a warning here, and basically that's because over in the browser I've got all my construction planes hidden. So now we can open up that folder and we can see that, we're about to make a new one here. Okay, so if I type in 90 degrees here, we're going to have a plane that's in the right orientation for us to do a sketch. So I'm going to do an OK. I've got an unlabeled plane here. Let's see where that is. Oh, that was the plane we used for the neck access cut. So I'm going to name both of these. I'll call this neck access, and the construction plane we just made, I'm going to call that our belly cut. Okay, and so let's hide everything but our belly cut. All right, so now we want to create a sketch on this plane. I see that I've got the origin displayed here, so I'm going to go up and hide that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pre-select that plane and then create a sketch. All right, and the sketch did turn us upside down, so I'm just going to, I'll leave that for now. All right, so now we want to do our belly cut, and basically, let me toggle off the body here so we can see what we're doing. So we're going to be going from this point and then make another spline point here and then come down here. So we want to, that's our line that we just drew in the other sketch. So if we project that in, we will have the endpoints. So let me do that first. I'm going to hit P for project, and let's see if we can find it. There's the line right there. So I'm going to hit enter. So that is now in our sketch, allowing us to do a spline from there to there. So let's do a look at, which is going to orient us straight at that construction plane and, that we did our sketch on. And now it's just a matter of going into our spline tool, starting here, going to the top of this belly cut, and then back down. Now it does look like the photo's a little bit off here, but I'm just going to use the photo. I think if I was building this guitar, I would, I am building this guitar. If I wanted to be a little bit more careful, I would come in and actually translate that. Let's do that. All right. So I'm going to move this a little bit over so that this point right here in our sketch orients with the point in the photo. So I'm going to right click on belly side cut, do an edit canvas, and then just bump it this way. Okay, so that better aligns with what we're doing. All right, I'll do an OK. And let's see where we stand here. So that's pretty good. So basically I want to fit this spline, make this spline a little tighter to that the belly cut in the photo. So I'm going to click on the spline. We want to get back in the sketch. I'm sorry. So I'm going to right click on the spline, do an edit sketch. So we're now in this new sketch, which is our side view of the belly cut. I'm going to click on the spline and see if I can manipulate its handle. We had trouble here manipulating handles on the other sketch. This one seems to work fine, so we'll go with that. Keep in mind you can also move this point around, and actually just moving the point got us pretty much where we want. Okay, so that's the side profile of our belly cut. So I'm going to finish the sketch, and I'm going to name it belly cut side. Okay, so now we can dispense with our canvases, so I'll hide all of them. And let's get our body shown. All right, so let's see what we have. We have these two lines that basically, if they were projected to the body, would show us what we want to cut away. All right, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to do a split face, and the face that we want to split first is this face right here. Then I'll select my splitting tool, which is the curve that the spline that we made previously. Extend splitting tool is on. I'm not sure you need to have that on, but doesn't seem to, I don't think it's hurting anything leaving it on. So we're going to go ahead and split our face. All that did essentially was draw this line here, but now we can select either side of that flat plane. And now we're going to do the same thing from the side here. So we're going to click on this. We will go to split face. So faces to split. We want to split this face right here. We had already pre-selected our splitting tool, but if I hadn't, we would just come in here and pick that spline. Extend splitting tool is on. I think that's okay. And now you can see that line got projected to this side surface. So let's just take a look at this and imagine that that chunk is not there. If you want to change it, you can easily go in and manipulate either one of these splines. Okay, so now to proceed, we're going to go to the Surface tab. And by doing so, we can click on this part of the face that we split and simply hit the delete key, and it goes away. So now we have a hollow structure. We're looking inside the guitar body. If I do the same here, I click on it, hit delete, we've now opened up that cavity. And now it's a matter of how do we fill that cavity in. Well, we can just use the patch tool and select this perimeter. If enable chaining is not on, you would have to select this side and this side, but I had it turned on. Okay, so we now have a surface body that patches that, if I hit OK, that patches that area that we just opened up. All right, so let's look in our bodies folder. I'm going to collapse everything but bodies. And let's see what we've got in there. So we have the cap, which we didn't do any splitting on that. The belly cut is really just this back body. And that got cut into two surface bodies. Let's look at them one by one. So there's the patch, and then there's everything but the patch. So if we put those two together, stitch those two together, we can go back to a solid body. So basically I can do a click and a shift click to select those two. Another way you could select those two is just draw around them like that. And then I'm going to go up to the stitch tool and just do an OK there. And now if we look over in bodies, we no longer have any surface bodies, but we have two solid bodies. One being the cap, and the other one just says body 22 here. I'm going to rename that to our, I'll call it the base. Okay. So now we're back with, we can go back to the solid tab. We're back with solid bodies. Okay, so we have this cut done, and we have the belly cut done. And the only other thing I want to do in this video is to round over. So I'm going to go to my fillet tool, and basically I just want to round over the sharp edges here. I don't want to round that because that was already contoured when we did the carving. So I'm going to click on all of these lines around the perimeter that are sharp. There's just, well, there's another one here. There's 4 of them. Okay. And I think I'm just going to try 1/8 of an inch and see what that looks like. So I've got 1/8 of an inch round over that goes around the guitar and stops, basically stops and starts at this neck access. Okay. And I want to do the same thing on the back. So I don't want to do this. I don't want to round that over because that's nicely contoured into the body. So I'll go to my fillet tool and I will pick this edge, which goes almost all the way around, and then this edge also here. And type in 1/8. And I got a warning, but it did seem to work. So let's take a look. Yeah, that looks fine. So we now have our 2 body cuts, our neck access and our belly, and we have round over on the top and bottom.